Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. Today we are going to be talking about niching down to stand out and why it is important to just pick something and go for it. Balancing building a successful business and being a superstar mom is hard, and yet in today's digital world, it's more common than ever.
The question becomes, how do we successfully grow a business and children at the same time?
Join us for a candid conversation as we share our insights into marketing and motherhood. I'm Angela Reeder.
And I'm Jessie Valle. Welcome to the Marketing Moms Podcast.
So this topic is one that I am familiar with, but not great at.
Let's start from the beginning. You said niche.
Niche.
I said niche.
Oh.
Just so you know, those of you who are listening, either one is actually correct because I'm the weirdo that totally has searched this in the past.
Oh, I was just going to say which one is right because I've definitely...
Both. The answer is both.
Okay, because I use both pronunciations. I use niche when it's an action and niche when it's like a thing.
That's so weird.
I know.
Got it. When you niche down, hey, what's your niche? That still doesn't make any sense why you do it that way.
I don't know why I do it that way.
Well, anyway.
Because all of my vocabulary comes from reading, I guess.
Yeah, so it's all in your head. The answer, though, is either one is correct. So whether you say niche or niche, it's all the same. But for those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically your little corner of the world, right? Like it's your little corner of a specific thing. In our case today, we're talking about business. So let's say us, for example, here on Marketing Moms, we cater to, well, if we were too broad, it would just be business. Like we talk to businesses.
Or moms.
Or moms, both very broad. But when we combine the two and say, okay, well, our niche is moms with businesses, that pulls it down a little bit. But to be honest, it's still kind of broad. So we have started to hone in on what kind of specific mom with a business we like to speak to. So for us, it's those moms who want a realistic, candid outlook on all things business and parenting, as well as those trying to seek balance or peace in the chaos.
Yep.
It's still kind of broad. So I feel like we could
moms with smaller businesses.
Right.
I mean, if you're running a Fortune 500 company and you're listening to our podcast, first of all, please let us know. And second of all,
I was going to say, share with your friends.
Please tell everybody. But second of all, you may not find all of our stuff as helpful as you would if you were running a small business.
That's true. That's true. So today we're going to go through some tips on what you can do to find your niche. And a lot of people, I know we've talked about this before, a lot of, I say a lot of people, but I should be more specific. A lot of coaches and other, I guess, people who teach business out there tend to say this is the first thing you need to do. Niche down, niche down. And it's like, you can try, but Angela and I have also talked in the past about how we found our niches. Like we had to try a lot of different things. And we're like, okay, I'm going to be broad, try different things and figure out which one I like and then niche down to that. And then do it and realize, you know what, maybe I don't like this so much, so I'm going to switch. That's the other thing is people feel like when they're told to niche down, you are stuck forever. It's like in cement. It's like, no, it's not. You can feel free to branch out, try something else, and you can continue. Also, you as a human being change over the years, right? Like I've realized that too. Even my personality, maybe not at the core, but on the surface, like my personality and my likes and dislikes and who I am has shifted and changed and evolved as my life has shifted and changed and evolved. So it's totally okay to start with one thing, shift to another, and then shift again if it makes sense for you and your business. Just saying.
Absolutely. It's not a one and done thing where you just decide this is the specific thing I'm doing and that's all I'm ever going to do.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And
So, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, while niching down is important, it is something that takes time. Like, I've never quite understood the like find your niche at the beginning. Like, I mean, I think you maybe need to pick something broad like we did with tech,
Mm-hmm.
but I think from there it's okay to just sort of experiment until you find something that works really well for you.
Yeah. So, when you are finally trying to decide what direction to go in, those are the tips we have today. And the first thing is a self reflection. So, kind of like I was saying before, like you have to look at yourself and your passions and your interests and what you actually enjoy doing. Because there's no faster way to resentment than choosing a niche that you are good at, but you don't like. Because I
Yeah,
always say, even if you can do something, doesn't mean you should.
right, exactly. And there are some things that are within a broader scope that you will just not like. Um, there are certain things within the tech space that I'm just like, I'm not touching that. Like APIs, I'm not touching those. So it's okay, even if your self reflection is, well, I don't like this,
Yeah.
and I do like this other thing.
Yeah. When I first started being a virtual assistant in the beginning, just trying to start my business up, after being a teacher, I tried to think about what I was good at, right? So I was like, oh, I did PowerPoints all day and every day for a living. I can help people with their PowerPoint presentations for webinars and things like that. I did it once and I hated it. Hated it. So
Yeah.
you have to take your interests into account, not just the things that you think you might be good at. Because that's
Yeah.
the other thing is if you like something, chances are you at least have a smidge of skill in it and you can always
Right.
develop that. And as long as you are further along than the person you are helping, that's what matters.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, the next thing on the list is to do a little bit of market research. So, this to me is kind of combined with the third one, which is solving a specific problem. To
Hmm.
me, this is when you do market research, to me, it's you going out into, say, forums, Facebook groups, wherever you can find people discussing needing help and taking
Hmm.
a look at the questions. What are patterns of things that people often need help with that you actually know the answer to?
Yes.
Not only will answering those questions help build you up as an authority in that space, but it also might help you niche down and you're like, you know what? I can get lost for hours hopping on Facebook and answering questions about XYZ.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And there are several good places to like start looking.
Mm-hmm.
Things like SEMrush is good. Answer the Public is a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
You can type in keywords and it will actually give you questions that people are using.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that can be a good place to look as well.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people, for example, people with like MLMs or network marketing might think, well, I just want anybody to buy the product.
Right.
But you will be more successful if you niche down,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
you might say, you know what, I sell, I don't know, essential oils, and I want to help specifically moms who want to use aromatherapy for I don't know, stress relief or something, or maybe
Yeah.
helping calm their children down. I don't know. I'm making
Hmm.
this up. This was a bad example because I don't do aromatherapy. I know nothing about it. I don't know why that's the one that
Yes.
popped in my head.
Or moms that are trying to use more natural alternatives to cleaning products.
There you go. There you go. Um, but you can still niche down while not saying, I just literally want to help anybody who wants more
Yeah.
natural cleaning products. No, you can niche down and say, I want to help specifically moms who are looking for this,
Yeah.
you know. And then that's the thing is when you help a few people, they're going to talk. And so they're
Yes.
going to bring you more people just like them who also have the same issue. And that's kind of why finding a niche is helpful.
Yep.
Okay.
So we talked about also solving a specific problem, which kind of goes
Hmm.
with the market research. So the next thing to think about is profitability, which is kind of the part where people get hung up on a little bit
Yeah. What do you mean
because
by that?
enjoying something and being good at something doesn't necessarily mean you can make money at something.
Mm,
But also, enjoying something and being good at something, I feel like tends to lead people to undervalue the service they're offering or the product they have
hmm.
because it seems really easy and simple to the person that's doing it or creating it.
Yep.
Like, it
Raising my
seems
hand right
like,
now.
right, me too. Like, it seems like this is so easy. It takes me 5 minutes. Well, it takes me 5 minutes because I've been doing it for 8 years,
Hmm.
but it doesn't always feel like that.
Right.
So, when you're choosing a niche, it is important to think about are the people that you are looking to sell to going to be able to afford it at a price that is worth it to do or to create? Um, are they going to be willing to pay that much for it?
Hmm.
And also, are you accurately estimating how much you should charge for it?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of like a two sides to that.
Yeah. If I go back to the essential oils example,
Mm-hmm.
chances are you're looking for a, you have to start to like look at your demographics.
Mm-hmm.
You probably want a mid-ranged household, like a
Yep.
mid-income household. Um, it's not to say that you won't get different ones, but
Right.
a lot of times those are the people who want to prioritize
Right.
using healthier options.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And have the disposable income to do so.
Exactly. It's
Right.
not to say that other people can't, but if you focus
Right.
on the wrong area, it's going to be hard to find those
Yeah.
people. So you
Ne-
have to like open your eyes to the profitability.
yes. Niching down to that doesn't mean like I refuse to sell to anybody that
Exactly.
isn't in my little box. It just means these are the people that I'm going to target with marketing, that I'm going to look
Mhm.
for, that I'm going to speak to in different things. And, it's hard. And I think, especially for moms, because I have seen various moms with businesses over the years feel like I don't want to price out anybody. I want
Mhm.
anybody to be able to have whatever I'm selling, which is great. I struggle with that myself. But at the end of the day, you still need to make money and it still needs to be worth it for the effort you're putting into it.
The way that I started to think about it when I was pricing my services at the very beginning was I was doing it for my family.
Hmm.
And wouldn't it be a disservice to my children if I underpriced myself instead
Hmm.
of getting the extra money, not extra, charging myself appropriately so that I'd have
Right.
plenty of money to buy them Christmas presents?
Hmm. Yeah.
Like that's the way I had to look at it. I had to turn and look at it a different way. Like it has to be worth it, not just for me, but for my family.
Yeah.
All right, the next one is testing your idea. So by this, it's like you have an idea, but you're kind of scared like, did I choose the right one? Remember, your feet are not held down in cement. If it doesn't work, you can adjust it, change it, go to something else. It's totally fine to shift. But when you think you found something, test it out. Have
Hmm.
you Is there enough interest? Are you able to find people? Collect feedback. Like, you
Yes.
know what? I really liked this thing you did, but wouldn't it be great if it included this?
Mhm.
Oh, cool. Now I can make my product or service better. Awesome.
Yes. Yep. And the other good thing about collecting that feedback is that with permission, you can use those as testimonials if you do decide to move forward with that product or service.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
I know I have a form that I use for testimonials, and one of the things that I ask on there is like, what would you have liked to have had? Like, what is there anything you would have liked me to have done differently
Hmm.
or additionally, so that I can kind of keep an eye on that and see where that interest is. And if there's, a lot of people asking for a specific thing, then I know that maybe that's something to try out.
And it's really hard to get that feedback, right?
It
Because
is.
you don't like hearing anything potentially negative. But at the end of the
Mhm.
day, they're only offering it because they want you to get better too.
Yeah.
Like they're not doing it to be cruel.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
take it, don't internalize it, just make the change and move on. It's
Yep.
not a jab at you as a human being.
Right.
And I'm saying
Yes.
this more because of the lessons I've had to learn, but I grew really, really thick skin when I was teaching 13-year-olds, right?
Oh
Like the
yeah.
things
That
they would
that'll
say
do
to
it.
me, I'm like, okay, remember, they don't know you personally. This has nothing to do with you.
They don't
This
really
is
mean.
them just being 13.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. The next thing is to stay flexible, right? So we've already kind of mentioned this. You are not held down to this for the rest of your life. In fact, the current niche Angela's on took her
Oh yeah.
years to arrive at.
Mhm. Yeah, that was one that I moved in and out of for years and kept coming back to and tried a bunch of different things. And then a few years ago, finally ended up, I was like, okay, this is clearly something that I'm interested in and good at, and I'm just going to go all in with it.
Hmm.
And it made a big difference in my business. But also, I don't regret the bouncing around that I did or the other services that I offered, because now it means that I can help my clients in my current niche in ways that some other providers can't, because I have
Hmm.
experience with all of those different things.
Yeah, for sure. So
So
yeah, again,
it's okay.
yeah, but even if you specialize in one thing doesn't mean you can't branch out and help on other
Hmm.
areas. So it's totally fine to just stay flexible. The next thing you want to think about is the size of your niche. Niche? Niche? Oh my gosh, now you have me
Niche.
tongue tied
Niche because
turning.
it's a thing.
Oh my gosh, sure. I've literally never heard anybody say that. So, those of you listening, do
I
not
don't
take that as fact.
No, it's not. It's just the way it works in my head, and I have no idea why.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about being not to be too broad, right? Like for us, we couldn't
Right.
just say all moms and all business owners. Like we kept going down, but don't go so small that there's like 100 people in the world that fit the
Right.
mold. Now, I have seen some people go down to a niche so small, you're like, there's no way.
Right.
But they can be successful when maybe there's more people who are like this than you previously thought,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So it really depends. You know your group of people better than anyone else.
Yes.
So you can't go
Oh,
to us to tell you, oh, that's too small. Only you're going to know
yes.
that.
So this isn't a business example, but it is a little bit of an
Hmm.
example of this. So my youngest broke her arm a few weeks ago, and we went on vacation, and we got to where we were going, and there were a lot of lakes and boating, and I was like, oh my goodness, she can't be in the water. She can't get her cast wet, because I live in the middle of fields and we don't do waterproof casts here. I didn't even know those were a thing until we got to where we were going. So before anybody comes into the comments. So we were talking about ways to cover her cast. Now, we had been using like grocery bags and things for showers, but I was like, that's not going to work for being where we're at.
Mhm.
And so we were out and about and we found this tiny little local pharmacy that was like the size of the inside of a gas station. And I told my husband, I was like, we should check there. If it seems like a really stupidly specific item to be looking for a waterproof cast cover,
Mhm.
but if anybody's going to have it, it's going to be a little pharmacy in a little town full of tourists that are going boating and swimming.
Mhm. Mhm.
And sure enough, they had one. We got it. We wrapped her up with some waterproof tape and she had a blast and it was amazing. But that is a really good example of you can niche down to a
Yes.
certain point depending on where you're at and the audience you're looking for. Like a
Yeah.
tiny little pharmacy in the middle of Indiana is not going to have one of those
Yeah, I was gonna say,
probably
I'm
because we
not
don't have any need for them.
exactly. Unless I happen to be by, a man-made lake here in Kansas.
Right? Yes,
There's no way you're gonna
exactly.
find that product just at the normal,
Just
like,
at yeah,
walk-in
at a
pharmacy.
tiny little pharmacy. Yeah.
No,
And
for
so
sure.
it was yeah, so that was one of those things where it's like because of where we're at and the kind of people that are there, they
Mhm.
can carry something like that. And so that's a really good example. If you are niche down to something specific, but you have found that sweet spot of people will pay for this and there's enough people that want it,
Mhm.
then it doesn't matter if it's like a big niche or a small niche.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like being the gosh, I've heard this example before. It's what is it? When you have one thing and then you start selling a complimentary thing right next to it.
Oh, yes. Restaurants do that. Oh, I can't remember the word for it though. We're gonna have to look it up and put it on the Instagram.
Yeah. But it's like it's almost like okay, inside of my head I'm like, imagine a little kid with a lemonade stand
Right.
and then someone selling cookies next to it or
Yes.
ice.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to look that up and put it
Yeah.
on the Instagram though. But
But anyway, it's like
yes,
that. You also
exactly.
have to take into account where you're at. Now, those of us that work digitally and our businesses are online, sometimes it's
Mhm.
a little easier depending on where you're
Yeah.
marketing because you
And
have access to
sometimes
a lot more people.
and sometimes you can partner with those complementary services. Like if you're a web designer, you could partner with a copywriter to help offer and expand each other's kind of target market.
Hmm.
So that's always something to consider as well.
Yeah. All right. The next thing is to think long term. Now, by this, I mean thinking about trends. If you're into something just because it's trendy right now, it might not be a long term solution for your entire business,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Like e commerce is not going anywhere. So Angela
No.
niching down to Shopify is not it's not going to hurt her business.
Right. Yeah.
Let's see.
Clubhouse is a good example. All the people that were offering services and products related to Clubhouse. Now, Clubhouse is still there.
Hmm.
There are probably still people making lots of money offering those services, but it is not as popular as it was when it first started. There are not as
Hmm.
many businesses using it. That niche has gotten smaller through no fault of the business owners.
Hmm.
But it is like a really because for a while it seemed like everybody was on Clubhouse,
Hmm.
everybody was doing Clubhouse, and now it's just sort of fallen by the wayside for a lot of businesses.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my head's just spinning with all the things like things that seem really trendy right now and then they die.
Yes. And there's
So
there's unpredictability to it.
there is.
When I first started with Shopify, it wasn't as big a thing. But then the pandemic hit and everything started moving online because people couldn't go to physical stores to shop, and online shopping became really, really popular.
Hmm.
And it sort of exploded. And then, like Jessie said, it's not going away. People sort of got used to and more comfortable with shopping from online stores that weren't necessarily like Amazon or, big stores like that. They got used to shopping at smaller stores online and more comfortable with that. So there's definitely changes that you can't predict, but it's also important to kind of look at the trends and see where things might be headed to consider when you're niching down.
Hmm. All right. The next one is to network. So just talk to other people, especially in the areas that you're interested in. It can kind of give you an idea about someone who's already there and some of the things that they have concerns about, things that they have loved. And you might say, well, I can't talk to someone who's going to go into the exact same niche as me. That's competition. Seriously, there
It's
is
not.
so much business in the world. There is plenty of room
Mm-hmm.
for everyone. And chances
Yes.
are someone's going to be willing to chat with you and help you out. And it doesn't even have to be people necessarily in an industry that you're specifically going into. You can talk to anybody about this stuff, right? Like it's just also about
Mm-hmm.
having a network of people you can connect with, which is one of the reasons Angela and I started Marketing Moms Monthly, right? So to
Yes.
create a community of moms with businesses who can come together, chat about it, network, maybe collaborate, or just be there as support as we all go through this momming and businessing
Yeah,
journey.
definitely. So our next
So,
tip
yeah,
is
go ahead.
to stay educated,
Hmm.
which is one of my personal favorites. Just
Whatever. You're a
continue.
serial education
I know.
consumer.
Yes, I am. So just stay up to date on what's going on in the industry of the niche that you're looking into, the technology and different things that are going on in that, because that can definitely affect where you might be focusing your efforts. Uh,
Hmm.
like there are a lot of social media things, but watching things like the AI trends and other things like that and how that's affecting social media can kind of help you decide where you might want to focus your energy, where you might want to focus your service and your products, and just kind of keeping up to date on the big players in the industry, what they're doing,
Hmm.
what people are recommending, what you're hearing from other people is working or not working, things like that. So I hear stuff a lot with like Facebook ads, even though I don't have anything to do with Facebook ads. um, but that's a really good example. Like it's constantly changing. The algorithms, the requirements, everything is constantly changing with that. And so it's a good idea just to keep up with whatever's going on in the industry that of the niche that you've chosen.
Yeah. And last but not least, trust your instincts.
Yes.
We've had this conversation about bad clients before.
Yes.
How you always have to trust the red flags, trust your gut. It's the same thing with this niche thing, right? Like if you think this is very, like, this can really help people
Hmm.
and this is going to be a good thing, that's a good feeling to have.
Yeah.
But if you're wary that maybe it's not a big enough niche, or maybe this isn't quite the way to go because I'm good at it, but I don't necessarily love it,
Right.
trust your gut because
Yeah.
you're only going to thank yourself down the road.
Yeah. Definitely. And that I think is one of the hardest ones is to as with the clients and the red flags,
Mhm.
that is one of the hardest ones is to decide, is this my instinct talking or is this just me being scared to move forward?
Mhm.
But I think, if you give yourself time and really think about it, you can definitely tell if something is just feeling off, and you
Yeah.
should listen to that.
Like maybe you picked a niche because you thought there were a lot of customers and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
opportunities, but then you realize you really don't like working with that type of person because
Right.
of XYZ.
Yes.
It's okay to trust your gut and know that this is not what you want to do long
Yep.
term.
And it's okay to make changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, overall, we just want you to know that having a niche is a good idea. It's something that can only help strengthen your business because you are going to be known as the go to in that specific area, which sounds scary because it's like, but I can help others too. Well, sometimes you'll get that business too. But
Yeah.
it's so crazy how it works. When you become known for something, the business will come to you because when someone needs it, they think of you. They don't think of the
Yes.
generalist, they think of the specific person with the
Yeah.
niche. So just don't give up. Think about who it is you truly want to serve and trust your instincts.
Yes.
And if you want support, don't forget we're here in our monthly membership, Marketing Moms Monthly, which you can get a free 30-day trial to at marketingmomsmonthly.com. We'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us today. We're so honored this is where you chose to spend your time.
If this episode helped you in some way, please share it with another mom who needs to hear it. We're in this together.
And if you're ready for next steps, free goodies, and more, head over to marketingmomspodcast.com.
We'll see you next week.